connection and correction, that is what is going to get you those 5-star ratings. Hey everybody, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. So today I want to talk to you about getting 5-star ratings, and I'm going to go through beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So with beginners, what you want to do is a lot of repetition. You're going to say the word many, many times, but you're going to do it in different ways using different props. So let's say they're learning the word apple. You're going to show the apple, whether you have a real apple or a prop, or you use the screen. You can circle the image on the screen in your portal. So let's just say I have the apple. I'm going to point to it. Apple, apple. And then you can use this gesture to point to your chin and then cup your ear. So, apple. And then you can say it again until they say it. And then when you're done with that, you can move on to practicing with it on a whiteboard. Now let's see how good my drawing skills are for an apple. Maybe like this. And so then I'll do this again and say apple. So it's really a matter of breaking things down. But then in order to take it to the next level, you want to build that connection. So it's all about connecting with your students, not just teaching them. It's a matter of breaking down the information for beginners, having that patience, making them feel comfortable, but then connecting with them and having fun with them. So a fun way to teach apple would be like doing something funny like that. Ooh, bad apple. And then you're extending the language too. So you're like, ooh, bad apple. And then the kid might laugh. And then you could do this. Good apple. So having some fun with them like that can really be a game changer in getting you a 5-star rating. Now let's talk about intermediate students. So for intermediate students, with kids especially, sometimes they're a little bit more shy, and even though they speak enough English, they might be not as open to extending. So one of the things you're going to want to do right away is just let them know that you want them to speak more than the teacher, because the students are not used to that. Just culturally, they're told more that it's a waste of time, like you're wasting other students' time if you're talking and asking too many questions or sharing too much information. So you want to get them on the same page with the same expectations that talking is what we want from you here. And then show them how. So if you ask them a question about sports, let's say you ask them what their favorite sport is and they're like, basketball, and they don't say anything else. So then you're going to show them what a detailed answer would look like. So you could type it on the screen or write it on your whiteboard so they get to see exactly how long you want that answer to be. So you could say something like, I like basketball because it's competitive. Now maybe they don't know that word, but we're thinking intermediate, so something along those lines. And I get to play with my friends after school or whatever it may be. And maybe that's not realistic for them. I know in China, they're not usually playing sports after school. So you can make it more relatable to them, whatever you think suits the situation. And then another way to support the education of an intermediate student is to provide sentence starters and sentence frames. So a sentence starter would just be giving them like the first few words of the sentence when you ask them a question and they're unable to provide an answer. So if you were doing a lesson about pandas, let's say they learned all about where pandas live, what pandas eat, and all that good stuff. So then you say something like, pandas live in, and then they fill in the rest. Now, if you want it to be a sentence frame, you would add something in between, like pandas live in blank and like to eat blank. That would be the sentence frame because there's more to fill in. Now, the positive part of this is that they are seeing what good sentence structure looks like, but they're still being challenged by having to provide the vocabulary. So it's a win-win. And then, again, don't forget you want to connect with the students, so have some fun with them. Now, typically for intermediate students, intermediate, they could be any age. I've had 7-year-old kids who are super advanced, but oftentimes my intermediate students are middle school age or sometimes high school age. So just whatever is appropriate for connecting with them. So I would say something like, if they say they like something, I really make a big deal out of it. So if they tell me, I like to read, I would say, oh, I really like reading too. So it builds that excitement that you both have a connection, and then I'll extend on that and I'll say, so what do you like to read? What stories do you like to read? And then that helps with that connection. It helps to grow that connection even more because you're seeing what else you have in common. Now, a final tip for intermediate students, and this could go with advanced students as well, is storytelling. I always tell them to share a story with me based on whatever we're learning in class. And that really shows them how much I want them to talk. Because when you think of a story, you know you're going to be talking for a few minutes, right? So that is a great way for them to use their English, and it's a great way for you to help correct them and see what they need help with. Oh, one final thing I thought of, and I've done a Facebook Live on this before, is comics. This is so perfect for intermediate. When I tell my students, this is after a reading, I want to see what they were able to comprehend, I want to see what vocabulary they can remember, and I want to see how well they can write a sentence and what grammar they can use. So I'll ask them to do a 4-block comic strip, I guess, where they write a sentence and they draw it. And this is great for connecting both sides of the brain, which further helps them to retain the vocabulary. But like I said, you're digging into what all the things that they can do, and it's revealing what they need help with. So once they finish that comic, I go back and I help them with corrections. It's really, really good, and 9 times out of 10, the kids absolutely love to do drawing, and it's a great way for them to recap and review what they read in the lesson that day. So that's something that you would do at the end of the lesson. Great fun, and very valuable educationally. Okay, finally, for advanced students, the main thing with advanced students is conversation. I always say it's like having a cup of coffee with a friend, of course, depending on the age, but a lot of times maybe I work with adult students, so in that situation, I'm always thinking of it like a cup of coffee with a friend, only I'm helping them with their English. But in any situation, in any case, no matter what their age is, with advanced students, I want to make it very conversational, and you will have a lot of reading pages with advanced students, but after every reading, you want to ask them a question, even if there's no question on the page, like it wasn't provided in the materials. So I will ask them, I have a variety of questions that I refer to in my blog posts. So it's something like, what are your thoughts about this? What's your opinion about this? Do you agree or disagree with this paragraph? So you can have like a list of questions built out, and it's all in my blog post, so you can see what else you can pull from. But you can have that list and copy it and use it whenever you want. And then the final thing with advanced students that I think a lot of teachers might not consider, they might think, oh, I don't have to do this with advanced students, but you absolutely do. You have to correct them. Because at this stage, although they can speak English well, they still make a lot of grammatical errors. So you want to correct them consistently throughout the lesson, and they're really going to feel like they're getting something out of this lesson because so many people don't correct them. And I'm always surprised when I finish a lesson, they're like, thank you so much for those corrections. Like, nobody does this. Like, nobody does this consistently throughout the lesson. So I know they are craving that correction. And that's why I've done a live in the past about this, the 2 C's, connection and correction. That is what is going to get you those 5-star ratings. And just breaking things down, being patient, and working with the student and meeting their needs wherever they're at. So those are all my tips. Be sure to go out and check out my blog post about this. And then on another note, I do just want to mention that I was sick this week, so I was not able to get my course launched. I wanted to launch it by yesterday or today. And so if you were waiting for that, it is still coming, but I didn't get to the point where I needed to. So just look for that in your inbox very, very soon, all right? And thank you for your patience. All right, you guys, take care. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next Friday. Bye.